And I know what really puts me in a jovial Christmas mood is thinking about O.J. Simpson.
For a few years, I've been reviewing bad Christmas specials on my movie matchup blog at Colin Watches Movies, and this year I'm taking the reviews to YouTube along with some friends. Some will be reviews of specials that are new to me, others will be me revisiting some old least favorites. And I'm excited about today's episode because it features one of my favorite people in the whole world. She is smart and hilarious, and you should all know her name. I'm of course talking about Aisling Bea, who plays Carol in Home Sweet Home Alone. But seriously, though, today's guest is a wonderful actress and writer and hilarious person all around. It's Aricka. Hello.
Hello. Wow, thank you very much.
Of course. So we watched the, believe it or not, 6th Home Alone movie.
That's sad.
Yeah.
It makes me sad and it hurts my feelings.
How many of these had you seen before? Just the first 2?
Yeah, I think that's all I did to myself was the first 2.
Yeah, me too. I
knew the third one existed. Mm-hmm. I did not know about 4 and 5.
The 4th one is trying to be a remake of the original, but has all new actors playing the same parts. And the 5th one, I haven't seen them, but the 5th one has Malcolm McDowell because he makes kid-friendly home invasion movies.
Yes, he does.
Yes. And then there's this one, which is technically a sequel because it features Kevin's brother in a small part for some reason.
Yes, it does. But
he probably owed Mikey Day some money or something. I don't know.
Very important question.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to swear during this review?
Yes.
Okay, good.
There will probably be a lot.
Yeah. My notes have some swearing.
Yes. No, feel free. Yeah. I think there was a lot of swearing in Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July, so yeah. I will say this movie
as well really there should.
Yes. This tested my limits of like white guy comedians that I mix up because it had all of them. It was directed by written by Mikey Day, who's one of them on SNL. It had Pete Holmes, yes. Jonah from Veep, Chris Parnell, and what's his name? Rob Delaney, who for the first half of the movie I kept referring to as Mike Birbiglia because I always get those two confused. It's just generic looking white men in this whole movie.
And Jim Rash from Community.
Who was he?
He was the guy that was conducting the bell choir.
Oh, right. Yeah. It was just a run of generic white guys. And at first when Chris Parnell popped up, I'm like, oh, it's Matt Besser, but no, it's not.
But he was in it for 5 seconds.
Chris Parnell had one line.
Yeah.
Which I will reiterate is more than the main character's father had. The main character's father did not speak, right?
He did at the end of the movie.
Oh, did he? Okay.
That's Andy Daly, who I love, who was in The Office. He had a show called Review on Comedy Central. Very funny. But for the first, 9/10 of the movie, I thought he was like the Vera from Cheers.
He was off screen.
Yeah, just the character we get to see.
He's just the Maris of this movie. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was so weird because I'm convinced that the original draft, she was just a single mother. And then they're like, no, this is Disney. We have to have 2 parents in every movie, guys. Come on. Unless we kill one halfway through.
I was going to say, yeah. And they just decided not to kill him.
He had, maybe one line. And then he struggled in the bathroom at one point. I thought Pete Holmes was the dad for the first half of the movie.
So did I. I was very confused.
Yeah. It raced through so much.
It didn't help that the mom had a proper British accent. Both of her children had a proper British accent, but apparently the dad's American.
Yeah.
And if you've ever had friends who were raised by an American parent and a British parent, they have muddled accents.
Yeah.
They don't sound like
And not to mention the actress is actually Irish, so it's just extra confusing. I assumed just because of the accents that they were her kids and he was their stepdad, but that they never said that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There were a lot of things we just had to assume.
Colin, that's backstory. Let's not. We don't want to overwhelm the writers.
Well, I say the main character, but the main character was actually the burglars. Kind of.
Yeah.
Or they just didn't have a main character. At one point I wrote, why are there 7 point of view characters?
But they weren't burglars because they were trying to get something that was stolen from them. And they weren't breaking and entering. They were just entering.
But they broke into someone else's house, didn't they?
No, there's a lot of mortal gymnastics that go on in this kids movie.
But at one point we're following Buzz. Like, why do we need a 7th point of view character in this movie?
Played by the same actor, though. So exciting.
The same. Yeah.
Yeah.
The non-call.
I was excited.
Yeah.
I mean, the original came out when I was like 12.
Right. I think it was 1990, 92. Yeah.
92.
Yeah. I mean, this movie starts off with the perfect summation of the whole movie because it's an almost identical version to Home for the Holidays, but it just something is off. So the whole thing is a remake that is slightly off.
Yeah. One of my first notes was 3 minutes and 44 seconds into this movie, and what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
I feel like I jumped in 30 minutes into a movie already in progress.
Like, hold the camera on one shot.
But it's like, I have no idea what's going on. And none of the conversation that you're having is exposition. Like, for the first 5 minutes of the movie, is not at all setting anything up for me.
Yeah. Well, there was the point where the characters walked in and Kenan Thompson addressed them by their first and last name just so we knew who they were.
True.
Really
That's
subtle.
true.
Yeah, the first scene had to introduce us to 5 different characters, which really, okay.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and here's how we get the kid in the scene because he has to use the bathroom at this person's house.
Right.
Oh.
I still don't know what his character name was. I just kept calling him in my head New Kevin.
New Kevin. I think it was Max, but I had to write it down.
I think you're right. And then the mom I just kept calling not Moira Rose.
This, of course, followed in the great Home Alone tradition of taking one of the funniest women in the world and casting her in a generic mom role where she can't do anything.
Yeah.
Catherine O'Hara and now Aisling B. It's just a shame.
I'm not familiar with her work.
Look up her stand-up. It's fantastic.
She's a stand-up?
Yes.
Because she did not do one funny thing in this movie.
Yeah, because she had a terrible script. She had some funny reactions. But
the script is awful because there were so many funny people in it.
Yeah.
I only almost laughed out loud once.
Which line?
And it was in the very beginning.
Which part?
When he makes the joke about selling his child.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's that really awkward moment when New Kevin and not Moira Rose just stand there and we're like, that's awkward.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the only funny thing that happened.
Yeah, it was the kind of thing where there's a joke where if you just put all these funny people in a movie and don't give them a script, they'll be funny, which they would have been, but they gave them a script and it wasn't funny.
No.
And no, the mom had even less to do with the original Home Alone, which is surprising.
Yeah.
Because in the original, at least she's in the truck with John Candy for 10 minutes. Well, she was on a plane.
In this movie, she's playing, sitting with, if John Candy had existed in this movie, it would have been his Del Griffith character.
Yes. None of the redeeming characteristics.
No, and not funny.
And not funny, right. So it's just, it'd be funny if she was on a plane next to a gross person who kept looking over her shoulder. Like, this just happened to Mikey Day when he was writing the movie.
Yeah. So the basic plot, I don't even know how to boil it down, really.
Yeah, it was A, Home Alone, but B, also Poverty Bad. Which it is, but I don't expect the politics of poverty to work their way into a Home Alone film.
Yeah, I mean, you have a couple of people that live down the street. They can't afford their house anymore because the dad loses the job. Yeah. And through a series of really easy to fix misunderstandings, they think the kid stole a doll that's worth $200,000. The kid thinks they want to kidnap him and sell him. And so they just keep trying to break into the house to steal the doll. He keeps trying to keep him out of the house. And then there's an insane ending. Yes,
which you will get to, but it has one of the darkest Christmas endings.
The stakes couldn't be lower. No. That's my favorite part about this. In the first Home Alone, the Wet Bandits legitimately wanted to murder Kevin.
Oh yeah, and definitely by the second.
Kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was dead. And this one, it's like, sorry, we just want our
doll. People just wanted to get it all.
You know what? It's crazy people trying to get a doll from a child. This is not a remake of Home Alone. This is a remake of Jingle All the Way.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's just, and I mean, it's infuriating. I was so bored that I was angry about my level of boredom. I know I have a note in here at one point that says I am 53 minutes and 9 seconds into this movie and literally nothing has happened.
Yeah. I was never sure how much of the movie was left. I kept checking because it could be any point in the movie.
Yeah. 53 minutes and 9 seconds. And he hadn't even started pulling pranks on them yet as they were breaking in.
It was like they were saying, oh, well, you know this is going to happen, so we're going to skip over it. Like, oh, the mom's going to get home. You don't need to see that. Oh, he's going to set up pranks. You've seen the original. It's like, why are we just not watching the original Home Alone?
Well, that's the question I kept asking myself over and over again.
And they even made fun of, I'll get to that, but they even made fun of how bad remakes are and then didn't do anything about it.
Okay. Thank you. So I have that in my notes, which is where they do the weird. So it was aliens with the CGI'd faces of the guy from the original fake movie.
Yeah, in the original movie they watch Angels with Filthy Souls. There's like a Jimmy Cagney parody movie. And then in the sequel, it's Angels with Even Filthier Souls. But in this one, they watch a sci-fi remake of Angels with Filthy Souls. And Jonah from Veep says, oh man, the remakes always suck. Why do they make those? It's like, are you trying to be self-aware?
Well, and at that point, when you've created a piece of schlock such as this, is it worse that you're self-aware than if you were not self-aware? Almost pisses me off. Like, this is a line that should have happened when you guys were conceiving this movie, and then you should have shut it down. The fact that it's like written into the script, now I'm double pissed.
You can do self-aware B movie. You can't do self-aware bad comedy, because self-aware bad comedy is never funny.
No, it really isn't.
Yeah. But they also thought the joke about whether Frankenstein was the monster or the doctor was hilarious because they used it twice in the same scene.
They sure did.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my next point.
Please.
This movie likes to streamline things. It does not believe in the rule of threes. It believes in the rule of twos. No joke comes in a set of threes. every time they do a callback, it's twice.
It's true.
The whole
You're
conversation
right.
about sliding into the skid or turning into the slide twice.
You're right. If they
The
follow
Frankenstein joke twice. I know I have like 6 examples of the rule of 2 in here. So if I find them along the way.
Watch there be a director's cut with all the thirds.
And that one's actually funny.
Yes. Yeah. The there's so little of the kid being a kid home alone. Like, what's the point? That's the whole thing of the original. He doesn't start pranking the burglars till the end. But there's one scene in this where he's home alone. There's one scene of him hanging out home alone. It's a montage. Again, it's like, oh, you know he's going to do this, so here you go. But it played, I had made the short list. People in this movie who are better than it. Aisling Bea and Tom Petty. It played Christmas All Over Again. I'm like, really? That? And I'll add Darlene Love because they played her song at the end too.
Well, and that montage, and he dresses up in his dad's suit.
Yeah.
And then he dresses up in his mom's dress and high heels. And I just imagine his inner monologue going like, I hope this doesn't awaken anything within me. Like,
that was so
it's like,
random. Now
that's the sequel I want to see. And then they have him like sitting at his dad's desk with a bowl full of M&Ms, eating whipped cream. And it's a Scarface reference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who is that? Number 1, who is that for? And number 2, how does he know what Scarface is?
You think the kid is aware in universe that he's making a Scarface reference?
His parents have blocked the internet so that he doesn't see anything appropriate, but he's watched Scarface. Okay.
See the Al Pacino classic Scarface and Angels with Filthy Souls as a double feature.
Just so weird.
None of this movie makes any sense.
In the original, he gets left home alone because he goes up to the attic because all the family's staying in the big house.
Right.
In this remake, sequel, whatever you want to call it, unnecessary film. He goes outside to the car and watches TV in the back seat of his mom's SUV. And I thought for a second it was going to turn into a very special episode of Home Sweet Home Alone, where we talk about the dangers of accidental carbon monoxide poisoning. I was like, why is he in a car in the garage turning on equipment?
It was a BMW commercial. You got the logo for a solid 3 seconds.
Oh God.
And the excuse to get him home alone was just so, they got the mom off the hook because she was on a different plane. But everyone else, it's just like, oh, they forgot him. It's like, oh, okay, they're just all terrible.
Like nobody was paying attention.
No.
Was I the only one that caught the weird fat shaming of Rob Delaney?
There was so much of that. It's like,
why?
Yeah, I don't know. He's not even, not that it would be okay if he was, but he's not even overweight.
He's not. He's perfectly a totally healthy human. Like, he might be under the weight range that he should be in.
Yeah. Like in the first scene, Keenan came up with something to improv on the spot. Not the actor, but the character Keenan was playing. I forget his name. He was trying to not say that he was selling the house. He's like, oh, I'm trying to help your dad work out. Which, okay, but start punching his belly? That seems a little bit over the line.
Yeah, Gavin. His name is Gavin.
Gavin. Oh, okay. He thought he was in an SNL skit.
Well, yeah, but then his wife grabs his stomach.
Yeah.
And calls him like big boy or pudgy boy or like some kind of weird. And then when she feeds everybody Christmas dinner, she gives him like some really scary, like boiled chicken and broccoli.
I didn't notice that at the end. Oh,
When he gets all upset because he looks at his cousin's wife's plate and she's got like this amazing Christmas feast and he gets like some boiled chicken and some broccoli.
jeez, that's awful.
I know, it was really passive aggressive.
Yeah. Also, he really seemed to, one of the writers on this movie really loved data mining because they had a monologue about data mining. There was 3 times. There were 3 monologues about data mining.
Yeah.
The one thing they do thrice, data mining.
What time did they do the rule of threes?
It's like, we don't care. I mean, we don't care in terms of the movie what you do for a living because it's not relevant to the plot. It's just, oh, I don't have a job. Okay, fine.
Well, and another big shame of it is not Kevin, is the kid from Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah, that's who it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's a very funny kid.
Yeah.
With great comedic timing. It's just shocking how much talent they had and how it wasn't even accidentally funny.
No. There was an O.J. Simpson joke.
Yes. I wrote that down.
No, wait, I'm trying to remember. Was it because they were breaking into someone's house to get their own thing back?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Which, I mean, you could...
O.J. Simpson got arrested for that.
Yeah,
well,
right.
The second time.
Right. It's like, why are we making... Who's in the audience is going to enjoy that?
Well, it's topical. And I know what really puts me in a jovial Christmas mood is thinking about O.J. Simpson.
I do like to have juice on Christmas morning. So.
Juice.
Thankfully, there were not 27 O.J. jokes in this, but yeah.
That's true.
There was also a great line where they said, we're all set on milk. I'm like, that was the casting call for this movie.
What?
We're all set on milk. That was the casting call.
So when she tells him, or when she text messages him and asks where he is, and he says, I'm out getting milk. And then they open the refrigerator, and there are, and I don't believe I am exaggerating, 17 bottles of milk.
Yep.
Different varieties of milk. And then she pulls up a bottle of milk, and she's like, what? And I just wrote in all caps, like, why do they have so much fucking milk? And this is why, even from an absurd standpoint, the joke doesn't make any sense.
No.
Milk goes bad. Nobody buys 17 jugs of milk. Like, it would have made way more sense if she'd been in front of the pantry and he'd been like, oh, I'm going to get cereal. And she opened the pantry and,
Yes.
and there were 17 boxes of cereal because people like to have different varieties. Some kids like this kind, the parents like this kind. But the one thing that you don't overbuy at the grocery store, and that's the joke they went with.
Maybe if it had been like as cartoony as the original, I could accept that, but this was trying to be serious and grounded.
I know.
So
You're
it definitely
right.
didn't work.
So it's like when, this movie just did not know what it was trying to be.
Oh, and there was also Rob Delaney made a joke about getting assaulted in prison because kids love that joke. I really wrote that in 2021 in a kids movie. Okay,
yeah.
Sure.
Still, we're still making that joke.
Just why?
The Snowpocalypse, Snowmageddon joke.
Twice.
It wasn't funny the first time.
No.
Gets revisited. Rule of 2.
Rule of 2.
One of my favorite parts happens at 24 minutes and 51 seconds, where the baby cousin is at the farmer's market with them at the Christmas farmer's market, and they blatantly, giantly show him stealing an ornament.
Yeah.
And these parents think that new Kevin stole their doll. And at 24 minutes and 51 seconds, they show us the toddler cousin stealing.
Yeah.
That's like 5 shadowing.
It's like showing Bruce Willis's coffin at the end of the first act of The Sixth Sense.
Like, okay, movie solved. The butler did it. Can we all go home now?
And obviously, we knew it wasn't going to be the kid stealing it because they don't show him stealing it.
Right. And again, I feel like I need to reiterate that the stakes could not be lower. We don't care who stole it.
My dinner with Andre had higher stakes than this.
Yes, it did.
Oh.
Oh.
The worst special effect that showed how lazy this movie was when Rob and Ellie are, I don't remember any character names, they're running out of the house at some point, and there's a snowman, and he runs into it. They CGI'd the destruction of a snowman.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Oh, it was so
I might
bad.
have been taking a note at that point.
How lazy do you have to be not to build a snowman? Oh.
I don't know. And then, can we talk about for just a second the terrifying old lady scene?
With the random scene of like child abduction? Yeah.
And the woman takes out her teeth and then she's like licking the little boy?
Yeah, he's having a fantasy sequence. He thinks they're coming to take him away for child slavery to old ladies.
I am still not okay.
No, that was disturbing.
Scared me. And I'm a grown-ass woman.
So why was this Home Alone movie suddenly having fantasy sequences? Did they think it was a Christmas story? There are no fantasy sequences in Home Alone.
No.
There's the scene where he sees the faces talking around him. I think that's from the original. But everything else, I'm like, what? Now it's a Christmas story. Now it's Jingle All the Way. Okay.
Yeah.
None of this made any sense.
Well, and then you have the police show up for reasons.
Is this the time they really show up or the time he imagined it?
The time they really showed up.
Oh, and they had this long close-up of him getting out of the car like it's a blaxploitation movie. Zooms all the way up and it says McAllister. Like, we get it.
We get it.
It's Buzz.
Yeah. And then he's questioning 2 people about whether or not they broke into a house.
With a child in it.
Right. And then she's like, honey, go start the car. And he's like, okay. And he just leaves. And I'm like, so that's what we do? We're questioning potential suspects and we just let one of them run to a car?
Well, they were white.
Then that was my next point. At first I was like, well, that's unrealistic. No, never mind.
Yeah, pretty realistic.
Yeah, pretty realistic.
Then it follows Buzz for another 5 minutes because we're going to get that cameo in there. And he's like, oh yeah, my brother calls in a prank every year. It's like, why would he call in it? But there's never people involved with it. Like, you would, does he send people every year?
Right. And I'm pretty sure that you have to follow up on any call. I don't think you can just go, no, it's a prank call. Like, you still have to go.
Yeah. You still have to report the prank call. And they thought that there was a German grandmother living with new Kevin because Siri changed to German.
Right.
And they couldn't change her back. It wasn't Siri. It was,
not Siri.
Yeah.
Much scarier robot lady.
Yeah. Yeah, home robot lady. She changed
and
to
this
German.
was something I meant to do, but I didn't get to do my homework. She gives him a random fun fact. The blue whale's veins are big enough for humans to swim through.
No idea. That's true.
What? That can't be accurate.
Something that the writer knew and just wanted to slip in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't realize this was Christmas Eve until like at least halfway through. And even after the Christmas Eve service, I forgot it was Christmas Eve. Just like, this does not feel like a Christmas movie. Oh, so
this whole movie takes place in 2 days.
And then a year later at the very end.
Right.
Yeah.
And they clean up the previous issue that the first movie had, which was he doesn't want to go to the cops because he doesn't want to get his parents in trouble.
Well, I always thought of the original. Yeah, right. There isn't the thing in the original. Doesn't Joe Pesci pretend to be a cop?
I don't think so.
I thought he was pretending to be a cop in the original. I always thought that, but that might not be true. It's been forever since I've watched it. But that is a thing people pointed out about
when he first came when he first came over to case the house. Yeah.
But I guess he wouldn't have known that though, so I don't know. I thought he didn't call the cops because he ran out of the store with items and didn't want to get in trouble for stealing.
Oh yeah. And in the first movie, all of the neighbors were gone for Christmas.
Yeah, except
which is why he couldn't go to any neighbor's house.
Right, yeah. They clear all that up. They don't clear any of that up here.
Well, she doesn't know any of the neighbors.
Right, but I feel like most neighbors would still, if you're a kid home alone, you're still going to ask for help. I mean, right?
I would think.
Yeah. And it's got to get the joke, call a landline. We don't have one. Hilarious. Kids these days, am I right?
And and I don't know any 9-year-old that doesn't have a cell phone at this point, but sure.
Right.
Just to get back to the montage for a second, like he makes Legos on the pool table. He eats a couple of M&Ms. He wears his mom's clothes.
Yeah.
And then makes like a really long thing for his like Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
Like a really long racetrack for his Hot Wheels down the stairs. That's it.
Yeah. He's a supporting character in his own movie. Yeah, it was very strange. Going back a bit, I forgot, what was with the bell choir scene? What the hell was that?
Well, first of all, she said, we're going to sing for the seniors. And then they were not singing. In her text message, she's like, we're going to go sing for the seniors.
The way they were lined up, I'm like, oh, they're on a catering team. Then they started singing bells. Like, what?
Yeah. And then I guess you randomly shout words while you're doing the bells.
Oh, that made no sense. Were they making money doing that? Like, was that a part-time gig?
I think that was charity.
Oh, just to show they're good people?
Yeah.
Okay. It was out of nowhere. Like, someone on the staff just thought bell choirs were hilarious.
Well, yeah. It made no sense. And even if you put a scene in a movie that doesn't make any sense, it should at least be funny.
Right. And it wasn't funny. It was just awkward.
Yeah. And then of more references that didn't really make any sense. The Axel Foley reference.
That was the other one I wrote down. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Beverly Hills Cop. Sure. OJ, Beverly Hills Cop. We've got all the current references.
Well, he's saying, like, why don't you know more about being a criminal? And she's like, what am I, Axel Foley? But Axel Foley was a police officer.
Oh, I thought he was calling her Axel Foley because she was driving like crazy.
I thought that was like when they were digging through the snow trying to get in there.
Were there two Axel Foley jokes?
There might have been.
There probably were.
Well, but Axel Foley was Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was wondering if the writers confused it with the 48 Hours, where he was the criminal helping the police.
That would make sense. Yeah, yeah.
Because the way that she referenced Axel Foley, number, again, who was that for?
Right.
And two, it didn't make any sense.
And I reiterate, who is this movie for? Within 5 seconds of the actual Foley joke, there was a fart joke.
Look, I'm tired. It's been a long year. I didn't need it. I didn't want it.
Yeah.
And like what they tried to do with the slapstick violence was at points, it was realistic. Like in the first one, when they throw paint cans from a high, from a high place.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that would have actually killed this person. Or when you hit him in the face with a crowbar. So they tried to clean this one up a little bit. Like instead of a paint can, he hits him in the face with a bag of flour.
Just not as funny.
Again, the stakes couldn't be lower.
And it's funny in the original because they're horrible people. Like there's nothing to root for. They're just people robbing houses for fun. In this one, they're just trying to get a thing back. So why is it amusing to see them get hurt?
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, where did he get a Santa suit on Christmas Eve?
Why, when he put the VR glasses on, was he in a Santa suit?
I wondered that too.
In the VR. I am not a technological wizard. I'm pretty sure that doesn't make any fucking sense.
What was the thing? He bought a Santa suit to make the kid think he's Santa going into the house.
Yeah.
And then he still had it on when the kid put VR glasses on.
Because all those 10-year-olds that fervently believe in Santa Claus.
And also want VR glasses. Yeah, sure. They can set up elaborate traps in their house, but also and that led to probably the worst line in the movie when Rob Delaney said, "This Santa's going to be leaving with an ugly little boy in his sack." Okay, who is this for? Before we get to the final home invasion, I have to talk about the church scene.
Okay.
The extras in that scene were some of the worst extras I have ever seen.
I didn't even notice.
They were just staring so awkwardly. It's like that guy in Goodfellas who's just like, it was so awkward. And then they go to the Toys for Tots or whatever they call it in this, Yarn for Youths. And the kid says, "I'm an orphan. My parents are gone." And she's like, "Oh, nice. Here, have a toy." It's like, help the kid.
Also, the kid lives in a house that most people could park their houses in the foyer.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're giving a homeless kid's toy to him? Like he's probably getting a PlayStation 5 under the tree.
Yeah.
And then like whatever guilt presents his parents buy him. But sure, why not?
There was not a single character, mother aside, in this movie whose decision making made any sense.
Okay. Did not love the mother's ugly American behavior at the airport.
No. That was written badly too. Yeah. Although as in the original, I chalk that up to my kid's home by himself. I don't know what's happening to him.
Yeah, but she was speaking to her like really slow. If I say my language that you don't speak super slow, you'll understand it.
Yeah, that was bad. I don't know why they thought that was funny.
I
don't know why people think that kind of writing is funny.
I don't know.
No.
It really wasn't funny to begin with, and it's so tired. It's so lazy.
Yeah. And none of the other family members seem to care.
No. Like no one's concerned. The sister's not concerned about the brother.
No.
Dad's having issues in the bathroom.
I mean, yeah, the original John Hurd is like, "Oh, it's fine. Don't worry. We're just going to stay here because it's going to work out." It's two different opinions on the same topic, but they both want to get home to their son. They just have different takes on it. And you understand both of them. Here it's just the dad is not a character.
No, he really isn't. Like, I seriously didn't think he existed.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm from Michigan. You are from a cold climate.
Yes.
People do not leave water in their pools over the summer.
No, not in the slightest.
So when you're in sub-zero temperatures and you walk across a frozen pool, even if somebody did leave water in the pool, the whole thing would be frozen. Like entire lakes freeze. Some really slow creeks freeze over. If the pool had water still in it, it's not like the little bit of ice on top would break. They fall fully into a pool full of water.
Yeah. Wouldn't falling into an empty pool be funnier? I mean, or funny, not funnier. That would imply there were jokes in this movie. Yeah, and they randomly spend 10 minutes breaking into obviously the wrong house.
Right.
Like, isn't this hilarious? I did write, and I had to erase it because Keenan shows up. I said, oh, there's the one black character in the movie, but it wasn't actually true.
But it also felt like they were playing, like there was some kind of weird implied joke about like, oh, well, this is definitely the wrong family.
Yeah, but they didn't lean into it.
But even if they had, it's like, what's the point of that joke? I don't know.
And why were they reading
It's all just Pan? Really weird.
Why were they reading Peter Pan on Christmas Eve? That's not a Christmas story.
I also wrote Harry Potter because they call the kid Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Get it?
Because he wears glasses and he's British.
And he wears glasses. And then part of me just imagined that the writers made the character British just so they could make the Harry Potter joke.
They were so proud of that joke.
Because there was no other reason really to make him British.
No. Unless I don't think they had, no, because like I said, the actress playing his mom isn't even British.
Yeah.
So yeah. So do you think this movie, the script, do you think the first draft of the script was written before or after Y2K?
Oh my God. After?
Barely. They get the Harry Potter joke, but they also have a Beverly Hills Cop joke and an OJ joke.
I mean, well, it has to be after because it's a mildly updated OJ joke.
But didn't he break in the second time still before 2000? Or was that later?
I thought it was in the mid-aughts.
All right, it might have been the mid-aughts. I don't remember. He was in so much legal trouble for many things.
Yes. I also the Harry Potter joke. Another 2-time rule.
Yeah.
They make that joke twice.
Yeah.
I said slippery walkway, check.
Yeah, got to do that in a Home Alone movie.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. The Home Alone movies, the first two at least, exist canonically in this universe. So wouldn't the burglars know to look out for traps?
Well, and here's a missed opportunity. The insinuation is that Kevin grew up to make home security systems.
Right.
But all your boring ass did with all of that creativity when you were younger is create a system where you put a code in when you walk in the door. First of all, that already existed. You didn't invent it.
No.
So what makes like a McAllister home alarm so special? Shouldn't paint cans come flying at people's face when they put the code in wrong?
Or there's a talk boy or something, yeah.
Or like a tarantula gets dropped on your face?
It was so cheaply written. The reference to Kevin was so pointless. I think it was just to get the cops out of the picture.
Yeah.
Which is so cheap.
It was a very cheap device.
I said, most of Aisling B's scenes showed her sad and annoyed. I think she just looked at the script to get into character.
Yeah.
It would just cut to her on the plane doing absolutely nothing and then cut back. What was the point in that scene? She's on a plane.
And she's just watching the amount of time it's going to take to fly home because that really shows she's a concerned mother.
Oh.
Okay. I didn't believe it until I saw she was watching the time tick down.
Meaningful character development there. If she had been
Yes.
sleeping, she would have been a terrible parent.
So we're basically at the big break-in scene,
Yes.
which they do the setting them on fire again, but it's not the top of the head, it's the feet. See? Different. But not really.
No.
And then pool cue balls at the face.
From an airsoft gun, which would still be pretty deadly. From up top stairs.
Yeah.
But again, these are not, they're trying to send the first 90 minutes setting up, these are not bad people. And then we're supposed to laugh at them getting brutally tortured by these devices.
Well, at one point, she's upstairs and the kid runs outside and the dad chases him. You're there to get the doll. The doll is in the house. Why are you following this poor kid into the backyard?
Oh, it made no sense.
And that doll, the upside down face?
Yes, the upside down face. $200,000 for a doll where someone twisted the head.
It just reminded me of that Stewie gif.
Yeah.
Don't say anything about his face. This whole situation's really turned his whole life upside down face.
It was just. I wrote, was this punishment for Ellie Kemper for the news that she was in the Miss Klan pageant or whatever?
I forgot about the Klan pageant. Oh, Ellie. We get to the end of the torture sequence. Is there anything else? I mean, instead of stepping on micro machines, it's Legos.
Yeah, but it was the same thing, just less awful. Like they didn't burn their hand on a doorknob.
Yeah.
And yeah,
well,
but it was
he set her feet on fire.
Yeah. It just wasn't as interesting as the original, because the original is a cartoon from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And this one is completely serious and it does slapstick violence, which doesn't work.
No, absolutely. It makes no sense.
And they find the doll isn't in the house anyway, after all that, which we knew because they didn't show us having it get stolen.
Well, we saw the toddler steal something at 24 minutes and 35 seconds. So we knew it wasn't in that house.
Yes. Now, I know the toddler stole it. I thought they were setting up that, what's his name's, Rob Delaney's brother and his girlfriend, wife, were stealing it for the money because they just seemed like awful people.
Oh, no, that would have been interesting.
Yeah. The whole movie, maybe it wasn't trying to, but I thought it was just constantly setting them up as these insufferable rich people. And they were going to be the ones who stole it, but that wasn't the ending.
Like they weren't really rich? No, that would have been like interesting character and plot development.
No, they were really rich. They're just assholes. It's because
either way, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite parts was in the middle of the torture sequence. There's the moment of clarity where he says to his wife what the whole audience is thinking. And he goes, "We should go home now." To which she responds, "This is who we are. This is the life we have chosen." And then they just press onward.
And they had done nothing to show that this is who they are now.
By the way, yesterday everything was fine. You guys were drinking your 17 gallons of milk. And now today, you're scaring the shit out of a 10-year-old. And she's already resigned to this new lifestyle.
I wanted 18 bottles of milk. I can't have it. We're choosing this life.
Yeah, maybe they could have saved their house if they hadn't spent so much money on milk.
How many maids of milking are there in 12 Days of Christmas? 8, 9? It wasn't that many.
Acidophilus milk is expensive, honey. Watch your spending.
Oh, it made no sense.
And then like I said, okay, well they've like ratcheted down the violence so that it's not as homicidal. Right. Then he takes them outside and starts chucking like icicles. And I was like, no, icicles will stab you and kill you.
Yeah.
So now nothing makes sense again. Congratulations.
And what was the trap? He somehow jumped off a trampoline onto something. I forget what it was now.
Yeah.
He gave him two options and they were both bad. I don't know. It's like a Saw movie for a second.
Well, and then there was like the couching tiger, hidden dragon moment where he's throwing soda bottles at her and she's able to deflect them.
Yes.
Like Wonder
Woman. This movie has referenced Scarface and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And Beverly Hills Cop.
And Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
Which isn't even the right reference. The reference didn't even make any sense. Which brings us to the moment that they clear up all of the confusion. And I just throw, oh my damn.
When the kid pulls out the doll?
Well, no, where he's in the midst, he's like pulled out all the stops and they basically caught him. And the kid's like, oh no, you caught me. And they're like, yeah, give us our doll. And he's like, I don't have your doll. And she's like, what? Why were you running then? Because I thought you were going to sell me. And she was like, no. Oh my God. And that's how we resolve the whole thing.
What happened to this is the life we have chosen?
Right. I said it's 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 19 seconds into the film. And I have sustained deep bodily harm from the whiplash, from the violent and sudden tonal change.
Yeah. It was like they have to be bad people for 10 minutes, but the rest of the movie, they're fine.
Well, he goes, I thought you were going to sell me. And she says, and this is an actual line from the movie, if we had known you were alone, we wouldn't have broken in. Not even once. What?
It's okay to break in if an elderly German grandmother is there?
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, you could just knock on the door and talk to the grandmother. Or, I don't know, wait a minute until they come home from their vacation.
Yeah.
You show up to their house and they're leaving for vacation. What's a vacation? A week?
Right. Yeah.
Escrow takes months.
Yeah. And you still know who they are. You can find them. They know where they live. They found the house.
It didn't have to be resolved. It didn't have to be resolved by Christmas Day.
No. Or just tell the realtor, hey, we have $200,000 coming. Just wait.
Right.
Or sell the milk.
And then she hits, then she's like, oh, you thought we were going to sell you? That's why you put us through this house of horrors? And it's like, oh, no, baby girl, you don't get to be upset. No. You were terrorizing a child.
And I think they called the child fat once too.
Yeah, well, they call the doll an ugly child.
Right.
Which makes no sense. I mean, that whole the misunderstood trope is so poorly used.
One of the worst uses I've ever seen. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they get back, and then she's like, okay, you're home alone. We're sorry we scared you so bad that you were having nightmares and that you built a house of horrors. Yeah. Come home with us, and you can stay with us until your mom gets home.
That was the part that suspension of disbelief was so shattered by that point, but that was somehow worse.
And it's okay. You can call your mom when you get to our house. What?
Don't you have a cell phone on you? Just hand him your cell phone now and let him call. And then call the cops.
Yeah. Anything.
or the church or somebody. There are people in this town. It's not the original movie.
So they get back to the robbers' misunderstood poor people's house.
Which is very nice for how poor they are.
Right.
Yeah.
And I thought in the beginning of the movie he was a toddler, but then when he was standing at the top of the stairs, he looked about 4, but he couldn't speak in complete sentences because he was like, boy, like, or doll. I don't know. It was very like, it was a Shining moment. It was very creepy.
Yes.
And then there's like one last grab for physical comedy where Delaney tries to like fly up the stairs before the doll gets thrown. And then he throws the doll and Delaney misses it. But then his wife goes for it. And then she hits a wall. And then the kid goes for it. And it's like, oh, well, anybody can catch something when it's thrown in slow motion.
Yeah, really. That would have been hilarious. Like, just the mom shows up at that point and catches it. Like, just no explanation.
Yes. So he throws the doll and new Kevin catches it. And then the kid goes,
oh, I didn't. You're right. He did. Got to recreate that trailer. Post
and
it.
I was home alone myself. And I, out loud to nobody, said, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. That was what I said during the snowman scene. I was like, no, you didn't just do.
No, I don't want it. Take it back.
Then,
I get it. This is lazy writing. We expect you to do the Home Alone screen. But why that moment?
Yeah.
And it happened so fast and it was such a throwaway that it was like, oh, are they apologizing for it while they're doing it?
They probably were. And then right before that, Rob Delaney's brother said, oh yeah, I know, I watched Greta Van Susteren. Which, once again, when was this made and who is this for?
It's like Greta Van Susteren gave money to this movie on a Kickstarter. And like for the $1,000 mark, you can have your name mentioned in the movie.
This movie was funded by Greta Van Susteren and OJ, apparently. Oh, and then the mom gets home. I guess the family is still partying up in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, a hotel set with one tracking shot of Tokyo.
Right.
At least in the original, they watch It's a Wonderful Life in French. It's like, well, that's kind of amusing. And this one's just like, here's a tracking shot of Tokyo. Here's their hotel room.
Yeah.
Dad's in the bathroom. Oh, there were 2 diarrhea jokes, not 3.
See?
Another rule of 2. Yeah.
Rule of 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so the other family doesn't even get home. So then it cuts to the Christmas after, where this.
Well, before we get to that, so the mom comes home, and for like 2 minutes, they awkwardly allude to home is where the heart is.
Right.
They like fumble around it. And then they're standing at the door and she's like, well, we should go home. And he doesn't want to go home because the house is a mess. And Ellie Kemper grabs him and goes, no, you should go home. So I was thinking, oh, did she and her husband clean up the house while he was asleep? Did she send a cleaning crew over to it? Because like it was like this knowing like glance, like, no, you should go home. And then she was like, well, home is where the heart is. And then somebody was like, yeah, home sweet home. And then the mom was like, there's no place like home. And I was like, what in the fuck is happening? And then Rob Delaney's like, home sweet Alabama. And I was like, what is going? It's
and then
like
you click your slippers together and the movie was all a dream.
it's like It's like when you're watching a Saturday Night Live skit and they don't know how to end it.
Or
People
begin
just
it or
start-
middle it.
Yeah, they just start rambling shit. And then, so it's like, okay, so you guys terrorize this kid. Now you're going to send him home with his mom. The house is a damn mess. You're going to let him take the fall.
Yeah.
This kid did nothing wrong the entire movie, and then he's going to bear the brunt of the trouble.
Yeah.
And then the mom was like, I hope the house isn't messy. You left him home alone, girl. Well, you went to another country. You're not allowed to be upset if the house is messy. You're just happy the kid is alive.
Yes. And you're probably divorcing your husband. And the rest of the family. I don't know who they were related to, but I imagine they're not going to be the picture again.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Then it's a year later.
Yes. Cuts to a year later. No, that was important. I forgot the random riffing where it's like Sweet Home Alabama.
So weird.
Cuts to a year later on Christmas Day. He is having Christmas with his mom, his dad, and the burglars who broke into his home, because that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the happy ending of this movie is that, well, the happy ending is that Rob Delaney has a job and made money. Great. Okay. The happy ending is he has to take a work call on Christmas.
And it seems like New Kevin's parents completely know the whole story and they're fine with it.
Right. Yeah.
Because they talk about what they spent the doll money on. We paid off the house and we went to Europe. And bought you a new chandelier.
It would be like if the original Home Alone ended with a Bollywood-style dance number with Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci.
It's like when they bring Miss Hannigan out on the elephant at the end of Annie.
Yeah.
So we like her all of a sudden?
Or like the end of The Bad Seed where they come out and bow. It's like, what do we want?
Like, all right. And how unnecessary are Rob Delaney and Ellie Kemper's kids? We haven't mentioned them. We've gone through this whole review. We haven't mentioned her kids once.
Yeah, they had kids who they didn't want to know they were moving, and his brother is nicer to their kids and buys them things. That's their whole.
But they don't want him to buy him things.
But they don't want him to buy him things because they don't want their kids knowing they're poor. Even though I think they're probably saying, hey, Dad, why are you sitting around the house 8 hours a day and not working? I mean, the kids aren't like 3. They're like 12.
They're 12 and like 15.
Yeah, they're going to know what's going on.
And then they make another sugary soda joke.
Right.
The second one. Yeah. The last rule of 2. Got one in right under the gun.
They had to follow that rule.
And then the movie is over.
Yes. And probably, was there another Rob Delaney fat joke? Because of the chicken, right?
Yeah, that happens before they go for the final showdown.
Oh, okay. No, it's not at the very end.
Yeah. Like when they're sitting there trying to make their way through the cousin's wife song on the guitar.
What was that about?
I don't know if that was supposed to be funny.
What song was she singing? I can't remember now. But yeah, I couldn't.
I think it was an original, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I couldn't tell if we were supposed to laugh or just it was supposed to be good and it just wasn't.
Yeah, the movie was over and I had so many questions, and then I legit fast forwarded through the credits because I just assumed there was a cutscene.
Oh, I just turned it off.
There wasn't one.
And it dared to play the Darlene Love song at the end. Christmas Baby, Please Come Home.
Well, this being a reimagining sequel, yes, rewriting of a John Hughes movie, I thought maybe they'd go for a post-credit scene, but they didn't. So
true, yeah. I don't know what they were thinking. Just it's not going to make money. They didn't release it into theaters. It's on Disney Plus. I'm kind of surprised they didn't do this before with all the reboots we've been getting, but also I don't know how quickly they wrote this movie, like a week probably.
Do you think this will be the last Home Alone?
In this continuity, I don't know. They're gonna try to have a big one with. They're probably gonna try to bring Macaulay Culkin back at some point.
I don't think he'll ever come back.
No, I don't think so either. But I was always thinking Home Alone 2 was just a cheap knockoff of the first one, even though it was written by the same person. It's just the same movie over again. But this was literally just the same movie over again.
But way worse.
Right. Because it didn't have any of the heart. There wasn't a John Candy character equivalent. There wasn't a Roberts Blossom character equivalent. So there's no heartwarming characters in this.
There was no journey for the mom home.
No, she was just sitting on a plane the whole time.
I was there for about 15 minutes going, I wonder when they're going to let us fly the planes.
Yep.
Yeah. So wait, in the original, now I'm trying to remember, because they never get out of America, right? Because she hitches a truck home.
Yeah, she gets on a plane in France. She there's like a scene of her selling her jewelry.
Right, okay.
And paying for those people's tickets. So you're catching up on her journey through the whole movie. And then she can't get into Chicago. So she flies as close as she can, which is like
Milwaukee,
Wisconsin or Milwaukee or whatever.
That's what it is.
And then she's got to take, and then she's like, just get me to America. And then.
Yeah, I forgot I just remembered that John Candy showed up and said, I'll give you a ride, but they were still in France at the time. He was going back to the same place. That's right. Yeah.
She goes on a 10-hour flight. She finds out her son isn't there.
Yeah.
And then she takes a 10-hour flight back.
Such riveting character development.
So, again, the stakes couldn't be low.
I just wanted them to do something. Anything. Just do something. Different, the same, I don't care. There was no point to make this movie.
Anything interesting.
Yeah. I was gonna say, is this so bad it's good? But a bad comedy can't really be so bad it's good.
And it's not even a solid hate watch.
No, it's just so lazy.
Yeah. I just hated watching it. That's all.
Yeah. And I also always want to ask, how could this have been better? It could have been a 90-minute Aisling B stand-up special.
To me, Ping Pong just looks like two perverts spanking a ghost.
It could have been 3 episodes of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
I was going to say, I could have rewatched some Kimmy Schmidt.
Yeah. It could have been Jojo Rabbit, which I didn't love, but it was sure better than this.
I mean, I like Jojo Rabbit. I thought this movie maybe could have benefited from an imaginary Hitler.
And they had imaginary sequences as it was.
Might as well just go full tilt.
Do they only allow that kid to be in movies where he interacts with non-embodied Germans?
It's possible.
Like he's going to do a remake of Harvey the Rabbit, but he's Kaiser Wilhelm for some reason.
There's a conspiracy theory brewing here.
I forget the kid's name. It's not his fault. He was fine. It's just
I loved him in Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah.
Nobody was so many good people in this, and nobody was good in it.
No.
So it's just, what are you gonna do?
You watch the original Home Alone. Like, these are a lot of talented people not doing much, but they're still doing something.
Yeah.
Archie Yates was his name.
Archie Yates.
Archie
right,
Yates.
Archie.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. He wasn't even the main character. It's like, I'm gonna be the kid in the Home Alone movie. I'm on screen for 10 minutes.
It just felt like nobody was supervising them. Like, no one read the script and went like, well, this doesn't work and this works.
Right. But I feel like they also made them really stick to script. Because if any of these people had improvised, it would have been funny.
Yeah, it just was.
Like, if you're making someone stick to script, it better be good.
Yeah. And you had so many people that are improv geniuses.
Right. I don't usually like the kind of movie that is, here's the basic idea for the scene, just start riffing. But that would have been funnier than this.
Yeah.
It just.
No, I mean, and it's not even like, all right, look, I recommend this for kids, 3 to 9.
No.
Parents, you're going to want to play on your phone. This is for no one.
This is for nobody. Absolutely nobody. If you're a fan of the people in this movie, watch them in something else. If you want to see Rob
maybe
Delaney
OJ will like watching it because he gets mentioned.
He's probably just watching The Naked Gun, though.
Probably.
If you like Rob Delaney getting punched multiple times, maybe. Like, if you're a Rob Delaney masochist specifically. And it's the only target audience I can imagine.
Yeah.
Bell choir aficionados.
And I
don't know either.
I mean, there's just not even a list. Here's my list of ways to fix it. Don't make it.
Right. Yeah. At least it wasn't the same family leaving a kid home alone for the third time, because they're monsters by that point.
You're telling me Mikey Day and his buddy can't lock themselves in a room and write an original script with an original plot line? What are we doing, guys?
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Was it a dare? So yeah, I can't even recommend it in a so bad it's good way, or because you like the people in it.
No, it's not even a fun hate watch. It's just
it's just bad.
It exists.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Well, thank you for joining me for this. It was fun to talk about, despite not being fun to watch.
That's true. I did have fun.
Yes. It's a fun movie to
Thank
talk
you for
about.
inviting me.
Yes, absolutely. And you're going to be back for another one before too long, but that is all for this one. Leave a comment about what you thought about it if you saw it. I hope you haven't had to sit through that. Anybody else? And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.